this is the map that we're talking about, okay? So this is the map that we're talking about, encompassing Delta and Richmond and Vancouver and Burnaby and West Vancouver and North Vancouver. It's like this is the map that we're talking about right from the Musqueam website, right? And I'm telling you, like, as someone, I'm trying to move people from upset and confused to giving them the tactical advice to survive. And I want to like tell people like how I actually believe it is I own property in this area.
Oh, I know.
I own real estate in this area. Our Vancouver office, like you can look it up. We own the title, the corporation. You know, I own the corporation. I own 95% of that corporation who owns the Vancouver office in smack dab in the middle in Cole Harbour there.
Yeah, I can almost point it out on the map with my finger right there. Yeah.
So it's like, so when I tell people you don't understand, like I totally understand, like my level of, like I want to give people my level of calmness on this issue and tell them how to prepare for this. Because there's some people, they're very, very exposed to this.
Okay? Oh, for sure.
And like owning property in this area exposes to this, but owning property in general in Canada exposes you to this, right? And this is the point. So this is the area that we're talking about. This was the agreement. I read through this agreement. I wanted to, pluck my eyeballs out at reading this agreement because, I make my living as being, providing CFO services and family office services. And this is the type of agreement. No, forget about like what they're trying to do, but this is the type of agreement where, if private companies try to write this type of agreement, they go bankrupt. Okay. They just go bankrupt. Like there are a lot of lawyers who love to write these types of agreement, but the enforceability of these agreements is skeptical. Okay. So why are people really, upset and concerned about this agreement? I read through this whole agreement. The word title, we're talking about property rights. The word title is in this document 35 different times. We're talking about property rights, claims, and the word title is in this document 35 times. So people's concern is understandable. Okay. It's understandable. Again, I'm one of those property owners who's affected by this, this document. Like, and why can I remain calm about it? Okay. I also want to, like, the main problem of this document is right at the top of the document. Right at the top of the document, before you pass go. Like, if I'm reading this as, if I'm the CFO of a company, I'm reading a document like this and we're negotiating a deal with another party. It's like, here's the problem. There are two parties, the Musqueam Indian Band and His Majesty the King in right of Canada as represented by the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. What's the immediate problem with the document? Is the title holders in this area are not party to the contract, which immediately speaks to the difficulty and ambiguousness of enforcing this document. So like in private company world, like if you start writing documents like this, all you get are lawyers at hundreds or thousands of dollars an hour going around and round in circles because the document isn't specific enough.
I was just going to say, who's going to get rich off of this is lawyers. The lawyers and teams of lawyers that are going to be fighting this in court for the next several decades. That's what's going to happen. Because not just the landowners in the Vancouver area, it's all of the other bands and tribes who are mad at Musqueam because they got to it first, wanting to say, oh, wait, that was my land first. No, it was my land first. This land is your land. This land is our land. Just pay us taxes and all will be fine.
And this is like, and there'll be some lawyer who disagrees with me in the comments here, but like their livelihood depends on disagreeing with me. Like as soon as I saw a document like this, if this was, my client and I'm looking through it's like, we need a different lawyer. Because this is just an endless pot of legal costs. Like that's all this is. Okay. This is not working towards a solution. This is this is politicking is what this is, right? I want to give you one of the craziest terms in there when we talk about the unenforceability of this contract. Like, not to mention the right parties aren't in it, but just the unenforceability of the contract is, we will remember our own history and as well use our traditional teachings to take care of everyone and everything on this earth.
Oh my. You know what? I really wish you had a picture of the Cowichan tribe's dump that they had created.
So, like, I mean, like, that's a noble goal. Like, I can understand that as a vision or mission statement of an organization, but we're talking about a contract and jeopardizing the enforceability of a contract when you leave, the matzo ball there of ambiguous, unenforceable, like, these are the things why this sort of thing gets stuck in courts forever, right?
No written history whatsoever. We're just going to remember what somebody told us, handed down from generation to generation. We're going to take care of the whole earth. There's 1,400 people in this band. 1,400.
How do we analyze, the breach of contract when that is part of the contract? I mean, like, I laugh, but like, this is like imagine like working for the government and reading this stuff on a daily basis and pretending that it's normal. Like, it's just like this is like, we're talking about what's supposedly a legal document to provide a framework. And it's just like, if someone looked at this, the lens in the private company world, like, how insane this is. Like, this is just a path to bankruptcy if people start talking like this in private businesses, right? So in the world of enforceable contracts, right?
Well, look at the balance sheet of the Canadian government. They are bankrupt, and they're getting worse. And remember, what was that third line item on the budget, this last budget?
I mean, it's like, it just comes down to, it's like, it's the revenue and it's the seniors benefits and it's the interest. Like that's kind of what it is, right? I mean, maybe you're talking about the last financial statement that Christy Freeland, dropped off in the contingent Indigenous reserves.
Yes,
$8 billion just appeared out of nowhere
yes.
on an annual set of financial statements with like very little explanation, and then the government imploded. But we just buried that one. We don't have to talk about that anymore.
We just
got a new
wave
guy
our
in charge.
arms, and that doesn't exist. We just
new government, same party, same name, same advisor.
new government. Quote unquote.
Okay. So, like, I just want people to understand, like, I'm a landowner in this. And like, when I start reading this, it's like, it is what it is. Like, it is this like contract that doesn't have the parties involved. It has, wildly ambiguous claims and terms in it. And that might be, I don't mean to be offensive to someone. It's just like if I'm just reading it as a, as a CFO, and like someone brings, the CEO brings me this, I'm like, well, what are we doing? Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, do we just want to have, legal costs spiral out of control and not get anything done? Like, this is a path to not doing anything.
Well, I think that's why it's made ambiguous on purpose. Yeah. So that the people who will get paid are the consultants, the lawyers, and they'll extract the cash, they'll extract the capital. Then you got to fight to say, no, you can't take my capital.
This is politicking, guys as like enforceability, regimented black and white contract. Like, this is like, it's not, it's politicking. Okay. But like, what is the end game? Like, so I tell people, you just need to look at the incentives. Look at the incentives of the parties involved. Okay. Now, here is, we know we have a government now. It's going to cost them $590 billion to run the country. I'm going to round it for people so it sounds easier to digest, but I'm going to round it $590 billion. They only bring in $510 billion. So they're $80 billion short. Okay. They're $80 billion short, over $1 trillion in debt already. Like, they have a problem. Okay. Now, how do they raise the cap? Does the Musqueam band, do they want capital? Yes. Now, but does the Musqueam band actually want to confiscate that land? Just think about it for a second. Like, think about, like, okay, so they they kick my office out of there and they kick all my neighbors out of there and we all become refugees coming to somewhere else that doesn't have a land claim. Like, what's the value of that land if that's what happens, if they just take the title? That's not the incentive. That is not the most beneficial outcome for them. It's like, what's the incentive? Why do people want property rights anyways, beyond the own property that you live in? Because you want a revenue stream from it. Like, that's why people want property rights, is because they want a revenue stream from it, right? What does the Canadian government want? They want an additional revenue stream. And this is a focus here. This is a focus because who do we pay do we currently pay property taxes right now to the federal government? Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But this is the makeup of our country. Okay. This is the financial makeup of our country. Okay. So I'm trying to understand the incentives here. This is household net worth rate from StatsCan. Okay. There are 21 trillion with a T, $21 trillion worth of assets in Canada. Okay. That households have a claim to 21.6 trillion exactly. Dwellings make up 4 trillion. This is the buildings. Okay. Dwellings make up 4 trillion. And the land, most of it, which is under the dwellings, is 4.7 trillion. So we're talking of the 21 trillion, we're looking at almost 9 trillion of it is real estate. Okay, 21 trillion, about 9 trillion is real estate. Okay, that's part of it. Let's look at what else they have too, because we understand about taxes. Like, some people think that you can raise taxes to fix that deficit problem, right? But this is a well understood economic fact about how when you raise taxes, you can't just raise taxes to infinity and continue to increase revenue. It's like pricing. It's like pricing goods and services. You can go and raise the prices of strawberries to $1 billion a package, but nobody would pay it. Taxes are very much the same. It's called the Laffer curve. It's, if you had 100% taxes, nobody would comply. If you had 0% taxes, everyone would comply. Somewhere in the middle is the maximum revenue you can raise as the government. Okay. And in most contexts, you're going to get a number kind of between 30 and 40%, which we're already there. Okay. We're already there on an income tax basis. So raising taxes is not going to fix that deficit. Okay. And cutting benefits, cutting entitlements is not politically palatable. It won't keep you in power. It might be the right thing to do, but no one's going to vote for it. There's no platform where they could say they can get rid of that line item of seniors benefits and they're going to get elected. It's just not going to work.
That's the problem with giving people free stuff to get elected. You have to continue giving the free stuff in order to remain elected.
So this is a revenue, but one of the incentives of both parties is a revenue stream, not the confiscation of property. The confiscation of property would actually be counter to what they're trying to accomplish. It wouldn't be financially beneficial if the Musqueam tribe ended up with a huge swath of land and no one in it, and no one wanted it because it was toxic and didn't have any there was no even sense of individual property rights, and it wouldn't be that valuable. Okay, the revenue stream would be valuable. For the federal government, the revenue stream. What is the win-win from these two parties that are on this agreement? It's a revenue stream. And so $21 trillion worth of assets in this country, just under 9 trillion is in real estate. Okay. It's actually even a little bit more than that, because if you start drilling through it, I'll show you some of the other assets that are in here. So we get to the net, we get to the total financial assets of 11 trillion. Okay. Which is, you're going to see this, they're going to have just call it 2.3 trillion in cash and near cash derivatives. Okay. They don't have to worry about the cash. Okay. I'll explain this in a second. So we got 2.3 trillion in cash. We have, I'm just going to keep scrolling down here. We have listed shares, only 829 billion. So it might surprise people. So you're talking about listed public companies owned by households, only 829 billion. Okay. We're talking about an order of magnitude difference between equity, shares in the stock market, and real estate.
That's
10x
huge.
different, right? Now you have mutual fund shares. Okay. So mutual funds is going to be comprised of both, primarily of both public companies and bonds. Probably give it around 30-70. We're talking about 30% of it's going to be in bonds and 70% of it's going to be in stocks. Okay. Not all of that stocks or bonds is actually listed in Canada, but that's a different story. Okay. Then you have life insurance and pensions, 3.3 trillion. So of the other assets, you have the other assets, which are cash, and you have, we have the unlisted shares too. So these are shares in private companies. A lot of the real estate, even the public company real estate and the private company shares inside of those companies is more real estate. So it's like real estate owned directly by the households or the household owning shares of companies who in turn own real estate, even like mine. Okay. So mine, like the property that I have is an unlisted share, and in that company is real estate, right? That's one of the components of the assets in that company. Okay. So you can start to see that when I say of $21 trillion of assets here and $9 trillion is in real estate, I'm actually understating the real estate because within those companies, there's more real estate. Okay. So let's call it, maybe it's 10, 11 trillion real estate.
So half.
Yeah. Now the other big ones are cash and bonds. Okay. Because when you drill through life insurance and pensions, what is the biggest holding of the life insurance and pensions?
Bonds.
Like probably in and around 70%, call it 60 to 80%. Okay. That's most of this is bonds. Okay. 30% of the mutual funds are bonds. The cash and short term is like, they don't have to worry about that. They already have the strategy to capture that. They do that through inflation, through money printing. They do that by increasing the monetary supply. So if you have a population adjusted growth in the money supply by 7%. So if you increase the money supply by 8% a year and you bring in 1% new people, you have an effective increase in the money supply population adjusted of 7%. Then you give the bondholders 4%. And the cash holders at the banks, 0% to lock that up, okay? You're going to confiscate the value of that asset for them. It's already baked into the system. This has already been baked in. They're like, buy all the bonds you want. They're not coming after those pensions because they're getting the pensions through inflation. You'll get paid out from the pension. You'll get that money, that statement that you get and says you're going to get $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month when you retire. You're going to get it. It's just that amount per month that you're going to get, it's not going to feel like it seems today when you're looking at that number. That $3,000 a month won't buy you the same amount of stuff when you hit retirement age. They're going to get that. They already have a tax. And by the way, when it pays out, that's taxable anyways too. So they're going to double tax that once through inflation and again when it actually gets paid out through income tax. The property is more of a problem. The property is the problem because that could impact your ability to actually build wealth. You actually could be building wealth through that. And that's the main source of wealth that Canadians have accumulated in this country. Okay. It's like half of all the assets. Half. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and can the federal government currently, in its current form, do they generate any income from that pot of real estate? Nothing. So I'll tell you these are my predictions and I'm looking into the crystal ball, but I'm just looking at people's incentives and how we look at, how we should deploy our capital. Well, let's look at the incentives of the people involved. It's like, do I think that either the federal government or the Musqueam tribe wants to confiscate the property? No. Do I think they want an income stream? Yes. Do I think that income stream is going to go straight to the Musqueam people to make their lives better? No. It's going to go through the federal government. Yeah. They're going to get a portion of it. and the Musqueam tribe will get, whatever's left over in sort of, whatever amounts. Like, I don't think they're actually, going to be materially benefited from this. They're just as much as a victim of everyone else of the money printing that's going to happen here. And so that is the incentive. So when you're looking at like, because I see some people like their reaction is, well, I'm just going to sell my property. I live in Alberta. And so this doesn't affect me. It's like last time I looked, every property holder in Canada pays property tax.
Mm-hmm.
Property tax. So effectively, I know this might sound offensive to some people, but we don't really own real estate. We rent it from the government. We've always rented it from the government. We don't have true property rights in terms of real estate in this country. Property tax has been baked in for generations. And that's going to be offensive to some people. And some people will think, well, this is just limited to there. So if I move over here, I won't be affected by it. Like, that's not what it is. It's like owning real estate subjects you to this. This is the risk. Now, am I going to look at this and am I going to sell my property in that area for another area? Well, no, for the reasons that I just stated. Do I have any plans to sell the office? No, I'm not going to sell the office. It's an important strategic location for us. We have meetings that happens there. It's our backup disaster recovery plan. If we ever had a fire here, we got everything installed. Like we'd hit the ground running there. Like we'd have people on planes and everything. All payrolls would get hit and clients would get service tomorrow because we have that property. If we didn't have that property, it wouldn't happen. But prior to that property, I paid more in rent, in that area of Vancouver than it actually cost me to maintain that property. So I'm not selling that property. That's not the strategic way to do it. It's like you have to understand what property rights are. Like, it makes you reevaluate, what do I actually own? Okay, because people think that I own real estate and real estate is like the lowest risk thing. It's like, I don't think so, people. Like, I have been telling people for this for a long time. It's like, do I own real estate? Yes. Will I continue to own real estate? Yes. Do I want all my money tied up in real estate? Oh my goodness, no. That is a very risky proposition, right?
Out of all of our investments, I think that's the most risky, because the one that's most predatory to the government. The government can totally go after it, whether it's municipal, federal, provincial. They can all prey upon it.
They can tax it,
yeah,
and they can regulate it. Who you can rent it to, how much you can raise those rents, if you can kick them out if they're paying the rents. Like, it's just like it's the hardest to get out of. It's the hardest to pivot out of. It's an illiquid asset by nature. And so, like, what should be your goal? As I tell people, it's like, just, think of the end in mind. Don't think of the issue. What you're trying to do is have liquid assets that generate an income that's in excess of your living expenses. That is financial freedom. Owning paid off real estate is not financial freedom. Like, I rent real estate from the government. Can it give me a cash flow if I rent it out? It can. Is it the most risky thing? It is, because there's 3 layers of government. It's the biggest target, first of all. Like, it's the thing. So if you're looking at it from, somewhere in the government, somewhere in the banking sector, somewhere at Davos is a smart tactician. We make fun of, sometimes the people in the government, and we think maybe they're not the smartest. And that's what, with good reason, right? Because I think I might have told this story at some point, right? But there was when I was a teenager, I had a job with the city, and I taught swimming lessons, and I was a lifeguard. And while I was working there, there was some 40-year-old guy who, when I was a teenager, he also worked there, and he taught swimming lessons, and he was a lifeguard. And I thought to myself at that time, I was like, how do I not end up like this guy? Like, where did he go wrong that he is still working this kid's job at this time? Like, there's got to be a solution. I got to not end up like this guy. But funny enough, he figured out that there was, I don't want to be too descriptive of it, but there was another government position. It's an elected position. I don't want to be too specific about it because I don't want to out the guy, right? That there was no one going to run in this area for this position. He ran and he got the position. Not a super important, high profile type thing, more of a lower pro. He got it, right? Then he figures out that there was an MLA seat coming up and his name was almost identical to the incumbent's name. It was almost identical. Same first name as last name, sounded just slightly different. So then the guy pivots from this, lower position to an MLA position. And most of the people voting had no idea who he was. Like this guy literally had a side hustle delivering packages and was a swimming instructor at 40 years old. And all of a sudden he's an MLA.
My gosh.
Like this is an absolute true story. Like the rest of us were like kind of dumbfounded this happened. It was one of the funniest. Like we just thought it was funny at that age. At this age, I find it terrifying.